Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who desperately needs a break from his bathrobe. That thing is heavy and it weighs on me and it wears me down. And I actually use it as an excuse for shitty predictions of mine. I feel like I'm firing on all cylinders in the beginning, and then by the end of the video, I'm just beaten down by the bathrobe. I'm like, all right, yeah, just gamrot, whatever. Even though I wasn't wearing the bathrobe when I made the Gamrot prediction. But in general, it's a great fucking excuse, and I'm going to be leaning on it for shitty predictions in the future. All right, I'm here to break down UFC Fight Night 262, De Ridder versus Allen. Credit to Brendan Allen for stepping up on fairly short notice. He's had over a month or so, but I'm expecting him to come in shape. And yeah, we got an awesome main event here. And credit to Renier de Ridder. I have to say, before I make my prediction, which it'll be at the end of the video, I love this guy. He showed up last year. He's fought every fucking 2 months. He's kept climbing and climbing. Aside from this, Brendan's fucking awesome and definitely in the realm of beating the Ridder. But after you beat Robert Whitaker, I thought there was only one place to go, and that was a title fight. But regardless, awesome main event and a decent card. Let's get rolling. All right, opening up the card, we have Stephanie Luciano taking on Ravena Oliveira. My prediction for this fight is Stephanie Luciano wins. And I'm going to go with her winning by decision. And I'm fairly confident in that prediction. I do think, first of all, I think Ravena's only path to victory is decision, Ravena Oliveira. But as for Stephanie Luciano, far and away, her primary path to victory is decision. But she's got a lot of great traits and skills. And I do think, even though she's mostly won by decision so far, she could be getting some finishes down the stretch in the future. Stephanie Luciano has that one loss in the UFC in her last fight to Sam Hughes. It's a really close fight, and Sam Hughes is a really underrated fighter. Maybe not anymore. But Stephanie was definitely in the realm of beating her. Regardless of what you'd say about the scorecard, though, my takeaway from that is Sam Hughes, being one of the most reliable round three fighters in the sport, was outlasted, in my opinion, and outpointed in round three by Stephanie Luciano. So that is a big feather in her cap, even though she's got an ugly stain on her record due to a split decision loss. But my estimation of Stephanie Luciano did go up after that fight. And speaking of round three, that's how she secured the draw against Talita Alencar in their first fight. Talita Alencar was able to control her, and I think that Ravena Oliveira's got to duplicate the success Talita Alencar had in her first fight. But even after that success, in round three, Stephanie Luciano took over that fight and was taking it to Alencar and walking her down and throwing everything at her. And even though she didn't have any like major moments in that round, she had enough semi-major moments and consistent pressure where she secured a 10-8 round and saved herself from having a loss. Then, of course, the icing on the cake is less than a year later, they had a rematch, and she shut down Talita Alencar pretty effectively. And it looked like a totally different fight as Stephanie was in cruise control for large portions of it, and she was the better woman. So Stephanie Luciano, yeah, my estimation of her is high. I think she's going to be better on the feet than Ravena Oliveira. I think on the ground, Ravena is not going to be able to go through Stephanie. I think she's largely going to be trying to pin her and control her, Talita Alencar. But Stephanie is only getting sharper. I think her takedown defense is going to be there for her. I think her get up skills are going to be there. I think she's got a bright future at 25 years old, and I expect her to be distinctly better than Ravena Oliveira here. Ravena has been finished once, was early in her career. She lost by Ezekiel choke. I think she fought Alexei Olenek. It's a bit of a physical mismatch, but he got her with his move, the Ezekiel choke. And after that, though, her only other loss is in her UFC debut to Tainara Lisboa, who's also on this card. And I think Stephanie Luciano, in a similar way, is just going to be too much for Ravena. Maybe Stephanie will mix in some grappling herself. Uh, but I do think in general, she's just going to be looking to keep it on the feet in this one and be much better than Ravina and to have that gap grow wider as the fight goes on. Ravina's going to be sharp athletically and punch for punch, maybe hit harder. So she'll be a little more formidable early on. But in general, kickboxing wise, I got Stephanie Luciano winning this fight. And MMA wise, with takedowns and submissions and all kinds of horse shit, I've got Stephanie Luciano winning this fight. Stephanie's minus 340. That's not the shittiest line there, but I have not bet on it. I'll wait to see everything. Try to cover my prediction with a bet. But yeah, definitely going with Stephanie. And if you're going the other way, I think Ravina's only path to victory is a decision. Next up, we have Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. My prediction for this fight is Melissa Croden wins, and I'm going to go with her winning by decision. And that's because I think she's a little bigger, stronger, and a little more Canadian. But in general, I don't have too much faith in that prediction. She actually is a slight underdog, but even if she wasn't, at toss up odds, if you feel strongly one way or another, you bet on it. I'm not betting on this. It's not to say I won't bet heavily on some point spread or a decision line or something when everything drops, but I don't know who's going to win. I do favor Melissa Croden, though, because of everything I said. I think she's just got a little more going on physically. I think Tainara Lisboa, though, is a little more likely to mix it up. And I don't even know about that, to be honest. I don't have the firmest grasp on either fighter. I've seen every fight I can get my hands on. I've seen most of their fights altogether, and I still don't know what we're getting here. But I think in general, on the feet, Croden's going to be a little difficult to bully. She's going to be a little bigger. I think she's going to have a little more pop. And I think on the outside, she's going to be being the bully. Tainara Lisboa, even though she's giving up size and leverage, she will probably do better in the clinch. And I think she's more likely to mix it up and take the fight to the ground, even though she's coming off a submission loss herself. But Melissa Croden, she's got a record of 6-2. She's never won by decision, even though she's come close enough. It's not like her cardio hasn't been tested. But she's got five TKOs and one submission victory, a lot of them down the stretch. And her two losses are both decisions. One's a 5-rounder to Jacqueline Cavalcanti, who's a great UFC fighter, and she had Melissa fucked up. She dropped her 4 times in the first minute of that fight and wasn't able to close the show. Melissa showed she's tough as all fuck, but that was a distinct loss. Her other loss wasn't so distinct. It's a split decision to this fighter, Evelyn Martins. Really close fight, could have gone either way. It went the other way. That was her third fight as a pro. So yeah, she's got a very pretty record, and I think she's got a good skill set on the feet. She can handle herself. She's definitely not the most agile, I'd say, and she was being chopped down in that bullshit loss or whatever. She ate some stiff calf kicks, but she still is a big woman, so she makes up for speed with a little bit of size and reach and all that. And again, against everybody but Cavalcanti, she's pretty much made it work for her. Tainara Lisboa, yeah, she's coming off her first submission loss, or her second submission loss. Her first submission loss was in her MMA debut to Norma Dumont, but she fought a much more manageable fighter, size-wise, in Luana Santos, and was still conquered with a submission, a key lock in round 2. And I think here she's the more likely girl to mix it up, but she's still probably better on the feet, or, at least in the Muay Thai sense, than she is on the ground. And I think on the feet, Melissa Croden is going to be a little bigger and better on the outside. So it's a very close fight. I don't know, close matchup. I don't know who's going to win, but I favor Melissa Croden. And like I said, I'm not betting on her. Maybe some line will entice me, but it's not going to be a money line or anything favoring one fighter over another. Okay, next up we have Azamat Bekoev versus UFC newcomer Yusri Belgaroui. My prediction here is Azamat Bekoev wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by submission in round fuck. And we'll go with that being a rear naked fuck. What do you think? Round one, I'm going to go with for Azamat Bekoev. But in general, I'm not married to submission. He's a pretty fucking destructive guy with some serious power, as we've seen in the UFC. But in general, in one way or another, I've got him exploiting Usry on the ground, reducing him to the striker that he is, the kickboxer he is, and showing him that next level on the ground and being the first guy to put Usry away. But even the finish altogether, knockout or submission, I'm not married to that either. Because right now it's just the money line staring at me, and I like the money line of Azamat Bekoev. It's tight enough at minus 250 or so. I think he's the better guy here. I think he's got a wealth of MMA experience compared to Usry, and I think he's got a wealth of skills that Usry doesn't have. Usry is patching up those holes, but he's still really just getting going. He is a kickboxer. He's got a decorated kickboxing record, a nice series of fights with both Adesanya and Alex Pereira. And I believe Alex Pereira is his training partner these days, too. But I do think Usry is still not as promising as Alex Pereira or Israel Adesanya. And to be honest, neither one of those guys seemed too promising to me when they got into MMA. I said the same shit I just said about Usry. They're going to be exploited and they're going to be reduced to the kickboxer and all that other horse shit. But they've had answers for everything. But I think it's evident that Usry doesn't have the Alex Pereira power and danger. Guy's the fucking Terminator, and Usry is not that. And he also, even though he's a very good kickboxer and very strong technically, he doesn't have the technical prowess or speed of Israel Adesanya. And I think he's a more manageable kickboxer than those other two. And I don't think he's got as high of a ceiling. And I've got Bekoev being too much for him here. Usry, he's got a pretty record. He's never been finished. And his last loss, another one by decision, comes against Marco Tulio on the Contender Series. And he definitely started off well in that fight. In the end, I didn't like the way he looked on the ground. And Marco Tulio may not be the best ground guy, but I didn't like the way Usry looked down the stretch, even though he was tired and out of his element. But still, that fight was a mixed bag, and I just think Usry is not the dominant force on the feet that Alex Pereira or Israel Adesanya is. I think it's a more manageable fight. He's more of a Cesar Almeida type of kickboxer. And I think Bekoev is going to have speed on his side and maybe punch for punch more pop. And of course, a wealth of skills on the ground. And with him having one thing to worry about, you got to think he's smart enough to do everything he can to take this fight to the ground. So yeah, Bekoev is the pick. Bekoev is the play. I mean, I love his money line, but still, I am a degenerate, and I'll at least wait for the props because he's such a dynamic guy, and there's so much downside, frankly, with Usry that I think a finish is much more likely than a decision. Okay, next up we have Kyle Prepolec making his return to the UFC against Drew Dober. My prediction here is Dober wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And I'm semi-confident in that prediction. Even the decision part, I do favor decision over knockout, even though he's Drew fucking Dober. But I have to say, I don't think I'm going to go reaching for any Drew Dober props or trying to shave his line down at all because there's a lot of shaving to be done. He is a 5-1 favorite. But I can tell you without having seen the props, the only inclination I have here is to maybe put a small sprinkle against the chin of Drew Dober and have Kyle Prepolec winning by knockout. But without any props and any odds in front of me and any extra horse shit, you're asking me who wins. I got Dober winning by decision. I think he's the sharper man on the feet. Drew Dober's very light and very fast, and he's almost always the most powerful guy in the matchup. And I also think he's a physical fucking tank. Difficult guy to change course with or whatever. Drew Dober He's been taken down and controlled and submitted aplenty, but I don't think that's a path to victory for Kyle Prepolec, and I think Drew would be shucking him off of him. I got Dober winning by decision. Prepolec's never been knocked out. He's always shown he can take it. He has been submitted 3 times, but I'm not going to give Dober much of a chance there. But I think Drew Dober will still be at least a half step better than him when they're on the feet. And I expect this whole fight to be contested on the feet. Again, it's just that kill shot coming the other way. Drew Dober's a guy who historically had an incredible chin. I was aware of that knockout loss he suffered 10 years ago, but as a UFC fighter, his chin was finally cracked 2 years ago against Matt Frevola. And even there, Drew was trying to survive. But after that, a few fights later, he got knocked out against Manuel Torres. That was another rough one. Very few guys have gone through Drew like that. And even though it's not too many knockout losses, it's a few lately, as he's going to turn 37 in another week. So not the prettiest picture when you look at all the circumstances. And also, speaking of the picture, big picture wise, whereas I used to use all those rough moments Drew Dober faced as a testament to his durability and even a testament to his chin itself. But after he got finished a few times, now you look back, at least I do, and those are just stains that form a different kind of picture. Where it's like, yeah, Bobby Green hurt him, and Rafael Alves, and Terrence McKinney. And then he got knocked out by Manuel Torres and whoever the fuck. And yeah, now in general, for the guy that's way closer to 40 than he is to 30, and with a ton of fucking mileage and really fucking hard mileage, there is doubt in the chin of Drew Dober. So I will put a small bet on Kyle Prepolec by knockout. But in general, I think Dober wins this fight. He's going to be too sharp for Kyle Prepolec. He's going to be, he's still as fast as ever. And he's still, I think, the bully when it comes to his power. Drew Dober is a fucking tank. So I've explained my case. I'm going with Dober winning. I've got him winning by decision, but I'll put a bet against his chin. Next up, we have Matt Frevola versus Kyle Nelson. My prediction here is Kyle Nelson wins. And I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And I'm neither confident in that prediction nor the method of victory. Because Matt Frevola, the biggest concern with him, in my opinion, is his chin. And even though Kyle Nelson may not be Mr. Concussive fucking knockout or whatever, he's definitely dangerous enough to make that happen. But here, even though I think Matt Frevola is probably more likely to win any fight that goes the distance just because he's such a fucking relentless fighter and a hustler, I think Kyle Nelson, in addition to being more Canadian, he's a pretty neutralizing fighter. I think he's a little more comfortable than Matt Frevola. And after that frenetic energy slows down, Kyle Nelson will be a little more comfortable on the feet and a little more timely with his counters. I think he's going to figure out Matt Frevola as he slows down and chop him down. Kyle Nelson's got great neutralizing leg kicks, but also just effective counters. He's not the fastest guy, but he makes it work for him. And both guys can grapple. I do think, of course, whoever gets the takedown is winning the points that are there to be scored, but I wouldn't give either guy a submission victory here. I think I initially overestimated Matt Frevola's grappling prowess after he came into the UFC from the Contender Series. But still, without going through anybody on the ground and finishing them, Matt Frevola is still an overall grappling problem because he's a relentless fucking wrestler. He does not stop, and he secured some big victories over guys like Jalen Turner. Real hustler, Matt Frevola. Maybe I shouldn't have picked Kyle to win by decision, huh? He is Canadian. They're going to be cheering every strike. No, but I do favor Kyle Nelson. I do think he is a guy that will be a little more, slow but steady and kind of tighten the gap after Frevola's speed wears off anyway. But I also think, of course, he's got the better chance of a knockout. Again, he's not Mr. Concussive fucking knockout, but Matt Frevola is Mr. fucking vulnerability. I did not like the way he looked getting knocked out against Fares Siam and Benoit Saint Denis and certainly Terrence McKinney. It's just he's had some rough knockout losses. That last one, I thought I should stick around and see if he wakes up. I'm a huge Matt Frevola fan too. He's a local Long Island guy, and I'm rooting for him, but I'm picking against him. I've got Kyle Nelson winning. The fight is a toss-up. Nelson's a slight underdog, slightest of underdogs, and yeah, Kyle Nelson's my bet and my pick, and I'll wait for the props and see where I can waste more fucking money. Next up, we have Danny Barlow versus Jourdain Santos. My prediction here has to be Barlow wins by decision, even though I really tried to convince myself to go the other way. And you know what? I don't need much convincing to bet the other way. But as for the prediction, Danny Barlow has to be the prediction. He's the bigger man. He's got a considerable reach advantage, and I believe is the better outside striker anyway, and he's got the better weapon with his left hand. But I still think Jourdain Santos is going to be pressuring him and trying to mix it up, crowding that left hand and trying to tie him up. Jourdain Santos isn't the most aggressive grappler, but there's definitely grappling there. He's actually won some recent fights defending grappling. But I still think here, considering who he's got in front of him, Danny Barlow, even though Danny was just knocked out in his last fight. But I think Jourdain Santos is going to be trying to crowd him and tie him up here. And Jourdain Santos, he's got 2 losses, and he's never been finished. 2 losses to Ozzy Diaz in his last one, and this guy Christian Torres 6 years ago. And frankly, they were both close fights. He definitely never got his ass kicked. And before that, he had a nice grinding win over Will Curry on the Contender Series. I believe he was a good underdog in that fight. Jourdain Santos, he's got no major stains on paper, but I have to pick Danny Barlow because even though he's got a nice major stain after his knockout loss to Sam Patterson earlier this year, he's still a problem on the feet. And before that loss, I really liked the way he looked. Maybe not in the Nikolai Veretetnikov fight so much, although I'm beginning to think that guy's just a tough fucking guy to fight, Veretetnikov. But Danny Barlow before that looked great against Josh Quinlan and actually got a nice knockout in round 3, which I love. Great showcase of traits. He does have that mean left hand, but he's just a good striker altogether. I think he's going to be more comfortable than Jourdain Santos. I think he's going to win the leg kick battle against Jourdain Santos, and I think small moments and big moments will belong to Danny Barlow, unless his chin fails him again. You never know. Might happen. But yeah, if it happened a little more, him getting knocked out, you'd see me looking to play against that perhaps, but it only happened once. There was the Sam Patterson, who is a really fucking dangerous guy, and I'm not willing to put it down as a trait yet, Danny Barlow's chin. I've got more confidence in the upside in his left hand than I do in the downside in his chin. But Jourdain Santos, I think his path to victory is slowing Danny Barlow down, pinning him, crowding that left hand, and trying to mix it up. Santos does have submission victories. He has hit takedowns. But in general, since he's been fighting better fighters as of late, been a lot more sloppy striking affairs that he's given us. And he's got a great chin, no major stain against him, but I'm picking against him here because I think Danny Barlow, I know Danny Barlow's got 4 or 5 inches of reach or whatever it is. And again, I think he's got the better weapons technically. So Barlow is the pick. But Barlow is not the bet. He's minus 305, which isn't atrocious, but with the confidence I have in Danny Barlow not being too high, I'm staying away from that. Maybe my only play will be Jourdain Santos winning by decision. Next up, we have Cody Gibson versus Aoriquileng. For this fight, I'm going with Cody Gibson winning, and I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And I think he's the better grappler, and I think he wins grappling exchanges to win the decision. But certainly, if somebody was to get submitted, I would pick Aoriquileng to get submitted by Cody Gibson. Aoriquileng has been submitted a few times, but Oh, way back when he was an inexperienced fighter. Now he's been fighting at a high level for some time, and he hasn't been submitted in some time. So I'm going to pick Cody Gibson to win the grappling battle, but on points. And on the feet, Cody can handle himself. Since it happened, I'll always go back to that Brad Katona fight, which was a fucking 15-minute war. But Aoriquileng, I do think, would be the better striker over the course of 15 minutes against Cody Gibson. Cody's fast and aggressive, but I think once they settle into the fight and all that shit wears off, Aoriquileng is the better man. He'll pick his shots, and he's got more power. But Cody's never been knocked out. He's tough as all fuck. He has been submitted a few times, but Aoriquileng is not Mr. Submission Artist. He's only got one submission victory in his however many fights he's got. So I'm sure he's got a decent enough guillotine, which has been the Achilles heel of Cody Gibson generally, but I don't expect him to get that. I think Cody Gibson gets the first submission. I think Cody Gibson wins the submission battle. And on the feet, I think it's close enough, but I definitely favor Aoriquileng there. I guess he's the one who's been knocked out, but I still think he's got the better chance of getting the knockout. So I'll go with Cody winning by decision. And right now it's just the money line available, and I have played Cody Gibson at minus, what is he? Minus 162. Wish I would just settle on round numbers. But he's minus 162. He's my pick and my play here. Aoriquileng doesn't have the best takedown defense. It's always been a problem for him. And I think even though Cody Gibson is not Raul Rosas Jr., he's sharp enough to take Aoriquileng down at least twice. I've got him winning with control. I think the control will happen early, and in general, Cody will slow down later, but with his chin and his heart and all the traits and the rest of it and his striking, I don't think he falls off a cliff, and I think he wins this one by decision. Next up, we have Young Sung Park taking on Bruno Silva. My prediction here is Bruno Silva wins, and I've got him winning by submission in round 2. I think Bruno Silva is still a very viable UFC flyweight. I think he doesn't have a lot of momentum right now, but he's still been in there with some excellent fighters. The two guys that beat him last, both of which were by round 3 TKO, by the way, those two guys might be fighting for the title next. Certainly, I think Joshua Van is already booked to fight for the title, but he's certainly next. And then after that, Manel Kopp, it wouldn't surprise me if he got the next shot. So Bruno Silva, even though he doesn't have a lot of momentum or even the prettiest record at 14-7, I still consider him to be an awesome fighter, and I think he's got a lot more to give than meets the eye. And I've got him stunning Young Sung Park. I've got him winning by submission, but I think he turns the fight around on the feet. Young Sung Park, who's handled himself very well, he's only got one loss, and it's to Tatsuro Taira, who's a fucking monster. That was 2 months ago. Taira got him out of there with submission in round 2. I believe that was a short notice fight for Young Sung Park. So credit to him and his balls there. But Taira was a little too much. He was able to outskill him. In general, I've had a little bit of doubt in Young Sung Park. He's been clipped a few times, including in the Taira fight. But yeah, he's been dropped and knocked around a few times. Senguk Choi got him. The guy before that with the fucking name roughed him up before he turned it around and choked him a few minutes later. But in general, he's given up some bigger moments, even though he's won every fight but his last. And Bruno Silva is still capable of those big moments. He's a very dangerous guy. He's much more dangerous than the average flyweight, even though he's been ground into dust in his last 2 fights by 2 of the best fighters. He's a guy who typically keeps that danger later. He doesn't have horrific cardio, even though you could argue it's failed him in the past and whatever. And he's got skills everywhere. He's got, I think, a speed advantage and certainly an explosiveness advantage early, but I don't think he's going to be dictating things with his speed. I think Young Sung Park is fast enough, and he's bigger, and he's younger, and all that other horse shit. And I do think Bruno is going to have to turn things around with the right shots. I think he's got excellent leg kicks as well, and I think he can slow down Hyung Sung Park. But I think he's going to turn the fight around by cracking him. And Bruno still got that danger, and I envision him winning a fight kind of like he won against Tyson Nam, where he was able to crack Tyson Nam and then ultimately put him away. Although Tyson Nam, I don't think tapped because he's tough as all living fuck. But yeah, I've got him winning here. I think Hyung Sung Park has done very well, but over lesser competition. And I think Bruno Silva is going to next level him, as I say. He's far above and beyond Shannon Ross and Senguk Choi and Carlos Hernandez and the guy with the name and everyone else. And I think even though he's 30 fuck years old and he's been roughed up lately, and I'm aware he was knocked out with a head kick years ago in seconds. But even though all this has happened, I still think he's a very viable fighter these days, and I think he's going to be too much for Park. Park, even though I'm picking him to get submitted, Park is a very dangerous submission artist, with pure grappling without anybody being rocked and fatigued and overwhelmed because he's put in some uncomfortable spots for the first time. I do think Park gets the better of Bruno with grappling. I think Park is an excellent grappler, excellent submission artist. And you know what? Bruno has been submitted a few times. I think they're both over 10 years ago, and the last of which was on The Ultimate Fighter, so it doesn't even count on his pro record. But yeah, it's happened. And Park's got all the upside. But I do think here he's got a really tough matchup. I know the UFC's thinking, yeah, Bruno's got a lot of cred and I think a pretty high profile, but he's on his way down, and we're just going to kind of swap these guys promotionally, professionally. But I think they've miscalculated. Bruno Silva is still going to be there in round 2 when those calf kicks and whatever else are bothering Park. He's still going to be explosive. He's going to turn the fight around, and I've got him getting a submission. I'm not married to submission, but I am married to Bruno Silva. I'm his bitch. Next up, we have Charles Air Jourdain taking on Davey Grant. My prediction for this fight is Davey Grant wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And the basis for the prediction is he's Davey Grant. And that's enough for me. I am a Davey Grant guy. I pick against him often, but he is one of my absolute favorite fighters. And here, I think he's fighting a really dangerous guy in his home country. And I think picking him to win a decision is a pretty tall order. But I've got Davey Grant winning this fight. Davey Grant is he is just tough as all fuck. Tough as all fuck. He's relentless. He's got excellent cardio. Really well-rounded guy, even though he's been submitted a few times. And yeah, by the way, I will look to play Charles Jourdain winning by submission, especially if the odds are nice and long, like I pray that they are, because I do think that's his primary path to victory. Although certainly if it's a decision, it could go the way of Charles Jourdain as well. But I'm picking Davey Grant to win. I think Davey Grant is tougher than just about anybody as far as his chin goes. I think he's got excellent cardio, and I think he's got better striking than Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain is an excellent striker. He's got some really sharp hands. And Davey Grant, he's just not in anyone's realm. He's not doing whatever the fuck everyone else is doing, but what he does is really effective. And I love the way he looked against Damon Blackshear. He had a really tough first round with Damon Blackshear and then just walked him down and just squared his stance and beat him up and beat up Damon Blackshear and took away his wrestling. And it was an excellent performance. And he's had plenty of other excellent performances. And at 39 years old, I'm still impressed with his growth. I'm still impressed with his physical fitness, and I'm still impressed with his chin. He's tough as all fuck. He's been knocked down and whatever before, but never knocked out. He's the guy that I would pick to win the dogfight with any other bantamweight on the planet. So Davey Grant is the pick here. I've got him out hustling Charles Jourdain and outlanding him and winning a decision, even though Charles Jourdain is a little more Canadian. But yeah, Davey Grant is the bet, plus 142. And that's where it's at right now. It's actually a little better. But I will wait for everything because I think Charles Jourdain is a deceptively tricky submission artist. And Davey Grant has historically been submittable against really fucking good guys. And he's definitely patched up that hole. But still, I just consider it Charles Jourdain's primary path to victory. And it would be a guillotine or something I would go with rather than something more methodical. He's not fucking Chris Holdsworth here or Damian Stasiak. But Charles Jourdain is good there, and I think it's his best option here. But again, for the 14th time, the pick is Davey fucking Grant. Next up, we have Manon Fior taking on Jasmine Jasdavicius. My prediction for this fight is Manon Fior wins, and I'm going to go with her winning by decision. And the basis for this prediction is physicality. Now, bear in mind, I know how to pronounce that word, but I have no idea how to spell it, and I certainly couldn't tell you what it means. But I know that's the heart of my prediction. And I've got that being the difference from Manon Fior. And that's the difference once Jasmine gets inside, but in order to get inside, she's got to overcome the speed and the movement, the agility of Manon Fior. I think she's going to be a little bit faster, and certainly I think she's going to be the sharper striker. I envision Jasmine chasing her around and trying to corral her, but I think Manon Fior is winning that battle, even with conceding pressure or octagon control. But with this physicality bullshit, I could be wrong about that anyway, and I think I'll find out pretty quickly. Like I said, I really have no idea what it means, but I know it's something that wrestling can conquer. And Jasmine Jasdavicius is one of the best wrestlers, maybe the best wrestler at the flyweight. She's beastly. She's got excellent takedowns, but I think here, she's going to be fighting someone who's going to be difficult for her to take down. Jasmine, she's a longer, taller girl compared to most anyway. And I think against Manon Fior, she's not going to have leverage on her side. And I don't think she's going to be able to shoot in on her hips. I think Manon is going to be able to fight off takedowns better than most. And on the feet, even though Jasmine's got a little bit more freedom because she's the wrestler, I still think Manon Fior is just too sharp as a striker. She's definitely got good pop in her punches. It's been a while since she's produced a nice finish, but Manon Fior, she's a big physical problem, and she's got excellent gas tank and an excellent fucking record and resume. And I'm picking her to win. I think Jasmine's probably got a prettier record, but still. Manon Fior here is the pick. I think she's going to be too fast in the first place to be corralled and too strong in the second place to be dominated. And there's a good chance I'm wrong about that. And that's why I have not bet on Manon Fior. Next up, we have Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. My prediction here is Kevin Holland wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by round 3 finish. I'll go with submission, okay? TKO on paper is much more likely, both considering Kevin Holland's upside and Mike Malott's downside historically. But I'm going to go with a submission because I'm a jerk off. Round 3, Kevin Holland. But the point is, I think Mike Malott is a problem for Kevin Holland, but I don't think he's going to be able to go through him with ease or go through him at all. I think Mike Malott is perhaps a better grappler, but he doesn't have the physicality of Brendan Allen, Ranier de Ritter, Rafael Lovato Jr., who's the best of them all, and certainly Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat's better than Rafael Lovato Jr., but as far as submission prowess, my point is they're all fucking monsters, and they're 185-pound monsters. Mike Malott's a monster himself, but he's a smaller guy, and I think Kevin Holland will be able to keep himself from being dominated from Mike Malott and certainly being submitted. And in the end, Kevin Holland, I've got him turning the fight around and winning via comeback, whether it's by Anaconda choke or a TKO. I can't say it'll look like the biggest Hail Mary, like some like the Neil Magny comeback against Mike Malott. But I do think Kevin Holland is much more dangerous than even Neil Magny, although Neil's really good at lacing up chokes as well, as we've seen. But Kevin Holland, he's more dangerous on the feet, and I think he's even more dangerous on the ground. And that's why I think he just needs a small window of Mike Malott being uncomfortable and tired, and Holland will be able to close the show. But before that, I think Mike Malott is certainly winning the grappling. I think he's the stronger man, despite being the former featherweight, fucking 10 years ago or whatever. But I think he wins the bear hug contest, as everyone does against Kevin Holland. But I think it's just there for control. Again, I don't think his body is big enough to do what those guys at middleweight did to Kevin Holland. And we saw Kevin Holland manage the grappling prowess of Gunnar Nelson, who I would put as better than Mike Malott, even though I've never grappled with either one of them. In fact, I've never grappled at all. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about here. But I know reputations, and Gunnar, theoretically, is better than Mike Malott. Although as a fighter, he's really inconsistent and all that other horseshit. But yeah, I've got Kevin Holland outlasting Mike Malott and putting him away. Mike Malott's been defeated twice. Once was by Hakeem Dawodu, who my condolences, Hakeem. He was cut from the UFC under some shitty circumstances, but whatever. And that was at featherweight, where he was just, I think, maybe cutting too much weight or whatever. But he was caught cold at the end of round one, couldn't recover, and got teed off on and stopped. And of course, his second loss was last year or 2 years ago, where Neil Magny outlasted him and then got on top of him in the 14th minute of the fight and never let him up and forced a stoppage in the end after Mike Malott was having his way with Neil Magny. It was like the fucking Ian Gary fight against Neil Magny. Just utter dominance, but he fatigued. And fatigue also cost him another victory where he lost in Bellator after having a strong start, wasn't able to finish this guy, whatever his name is, and the guy ended up turning things around and out hustling and battling his way back to a draw by winning rounds 2 and 3 against Malott. So, I can't say it's the biggest worry because Mike Malott in general has looked good since then, but I feel like it's no coincidence that his next loss was also due to fatigue. And Kevin Holland, he's a problem in round 3. He's shown it on many occasions. And I think here, in one way or another, he outlasts and fatigues Mike Malott and then closes a show with a small window. So Kevin Holland is the pick. Not too confident, obviously, as I'm picking a fucking miracle Hail Mary comeback. But certainly I'll be reaching for bets. I'm not going to bet on the money line, which is a toss-up right now, but I'll wait for the props. I think if Malott wins, it's by submission in the first half of the fight. And I think if Kevin Holland wins, in general, it's by finish in one way or another. And I would go with it happening later, certainly. So yeah, Kevin Holland is the pick, and then all that other horseshit. Next up in the co-main event, we have Aiemann Zahabi versus Chito Vera. My prediction here is Zahabi wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by decision. I'm done doubting this guy, even though I think I said that after he beat Javid Basharat. But yeah, I'm done doubting him. He's 37 years old, but he's in his prime. He's looking great as of late. He's on a killer winning streak. He's got 2 losses, then they are in his first 3 UFC fights, which is why I doubted him in the first place. And of course, one of them was a rough knockout to Ricardo Ramos, who got him with a spinning back elbow. But again, he's on a killer streak. He's had grimy decision wins over Javid Basharat, Jose Aldo especially. That was a fucking scene, that whole fight. And against Pedro Munoz, who might be the only guy in the world who's tougher than Marlon Chito Vera. But the point is, Chito is one of the very toughest men on earth and in the UFC, and I don't think anybody beats him with a finish. I think Aiemann Zahabi's got good pop in his punches, but Chito is going to be fine. So I haven't bet on Aiemann Zahabi, even though he's minus 130 or something. It's a toss up. And that's because I have to wait. I'm obligated to wait for the props because with Chito Vera, there's only one way to win, one way to beat him. And Chito, the reason I'm picking against him is, yeah, he's not a great point fighter. He's a guy who historically sits back and waits. I can go through his whole record, fights that I half remember, but I know he was losing them, and then he turned things around and put this guy away in round 2 and round 3 and whatever. And Chito is exceptionally dangerous, but I do think he's really up against it on points because of his style. And I also think in general, he's less dangerous these days. He's slowing down. He has to have lost a step athletically. And Eamon Zahabi, even though he's no spring chicken, he might even be older than Chito. He's got a fraction of the mileage, and he's the guy who's been digging deep and scratching and clawing for victories. That win over Jose Aldo was fucking phenomenal. And it's not like Chito Vera doesn't know Jose Aldo. Jose beat him by decision. But yeah, I think Chito is more dangerous. I think there's a chance he turns things around and gets a sudden finish. But I think it would be a comeback because I've got Eamon Zahabi being ahead on points. I've got him winning the small moments, and I've got there being not enough big moments. And of course, the crowd will help out as well if it goes to the scorecards. So Eamon Zahabi is the pick. And like I said, it's a toss up. They're practically even on DraftKings here, but I'm not going to bet on Eamon Zahabi until I see everything. I don't think the decision line is going to be too far removed, but it's definitely worth looking at before placing a bet because there's only one fucking way to beat Chito Vera. And in the main event of the evening, we have Ranier de Ridder taking on Brendan Allen. My prediction here is Ranier de Ridder wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by submission in round 3. I think Brendan Allen is an excellent grappler, and I think he's going to be really tough to get out of there. But I think Ranier de Ridder is excellent. I think he's better than Brendan Allen, and I think when Brendan Allen slows down, like he has in some of his losses, I think where he's been able to survive against lesser grapplers, even Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, who's a monster grappler, but not as good of an overall submission artist as Ranier de Ridder. I think Ranier de Ridder is going to be too much for him. And when Allen is fatigued, he's not going to be able to hang on and do the crafty, nifty shit and survive. I think Ranier de Ridder laces something up and strangles him. On the feet, I think Brendan Allen probably has a technical advantage. And Allen's a big, strong guy. He could prove to be a bad matchup for Ranier de Ridder. But Ranier is still the bigger man. He still comes crashing in with those knees to the body, which I love. It showed to be a big weapon against Robert Whittaker as well, but also he put Bo Nickel away like that. And yeah, that's just a great weapon for him, who loves to grapple, but he's got that frame. And yeah, he comes lunging in with those. And Ranier de Ridder also is very tough. That fight against Robert Whittaker was a good 5-round war. And he definitely got his ass kicked in that fight as well. But even though I picked against him, I thought he won the fight. And I thought he showed a ton of fucking grit going 5 rounds with Whittaker like that. And here, not that it makes too much of a difference, but he is the guy who's theoretically in better shape. Although I think Brendan Allen is coming in close enough to perfect. But still, Brendan Allen's been perfect under other circumstances, and we've seen him fatigue. And I think Ranier de Ridder is going to close the show when Brendan Allen fatigues. Ranier de Ridder's been defeated twice against Anatoly Malakin, fucking light heavyweight tank. And it wasn't the greatest look. He went through him with physicality once in one round, and then they had a rematch, and it was a more of a methodical beatdown. But Ranier de Ridder looked like he couldn't stand at the end of that fight. I'm not trying to harp on those losses because they're not even too relevant to his UFC career, but they are his 2 losses, and I wanted to at least touch on them in this video. But I don't think Brendan Allen has the physicality of that guy. I think Brendan Allen is still stronger, perhaps, and probably hits harder, strike for strike, and he's got mean fucking body kicks. But I don't think Rainier. I don't think it's an unmanageable physical task. I think Rainier de Ritter. I know he is the bigger man, but I think he can take down and control Brendan Allen. And even if he can't do that from the get go, I think he's better equipped to do it down the stretch. And that's what I've got happening. Brendan Allen slowing down a little bit, and nothing would slow him down than some success in the grappling realm, probably. But then I've got Rainier de Ritter turning it around, being that 5-round fighter we saw last time against Whitaker. Not that we haven't seen Brendan Allen go 5 rounds, but I've got Rainier de Ritter being better here. I think he'll be able to take Brendan Allen down, get him tired, and put him away. Brendan Allen's been submitted once, and it was against Trevin Giles, former UFC fighter, I think. He might still be around. But either way, everybody who's ever beaten Brendan Allen, no matter where they beat him, they're all UFC guys, and they're all excellent fighters. But that's the only submission loss. I'm picking him to get a second submission loss here against Rainier de Ritter, and it's because Rainier is just a fucking monster on the ground. If Brendan Allen was to win, I would pick him winning by decision. I would pick him winning a kickboxing battle largely, because again, grappling can come back to haunt him. But there's a chance he's a better grappler anyway, and he just proves to be a bad matchup than Rainier de Ritter. I think this is a really fun matchup, and even though I'm picking and betting on Rainier de Ritter to win, I hope we get a good fight, and I wouldn't mind seeing Brendan Allen win and win for America. But yeah, Rainier de Ritter is the pick, and he is the bet, and I'll go reaching for props like a jerk off. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.